Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack. I'm not a homework person. I opt out for my kids as well.
What fresh hell?
Laughing in the face of motherhood.
If Margaret's top strength is humor, Amy's top strength is love of learning.
With Margaret Abels
and Amy Wilson.
It was such a happy accident that, like, if you could have built a person who had opposite strengths than me, you would have maybe built Amy.
A podcast that solves today's parenting dilemmas
so you don't have to.
She wants to be my friend. I mean, it was such a slow learner.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to What Fresh Hell, Laughing in the Face of Motherhood. This is Margaret.
And this is Amy. And this week, we're talking about what we are going to take with us into 2024. And we have a very special guest to help us with this process, our friend Ann Imig. She is an award-winning writer, speaker, and performer. She's currently working as a certified positive psychology life coach. Ann and I go way back because in 2010, Ann created the nationwide storytelling series and book titled Listen to Your Mother. I directed the New York City version of Listen to Your Mother for 6 years. Margaret was in, I believe, the last version that we did. You were in it. And it was an amazing experience, launched many, many ideas and careers and creative sparks, including this podcast. And Listen to Your Mother continues giving motherhood a microphone on stages all over the country. And we've been talking forever about having you on. So we're so excited to have you with us, Ann.
Thank you. I'm super happy to be here. And that intro just really made me so full of warm fuzzies. Thank you.
Oh. So we wanted to do this week, like getting ready for 2024, what we're leaving behind, what we're taking with us. And this was really inspired by something that you were doing in your work with your own clients. So tell us about that.
Well, it's funny because a lot of people think like new year, new me, or like reinvention. And when we want to know what works, we look at reviews, right? Like if we want to know how a product works or if we want to go to a good restaurant, we see reviews and we often, make choices based on that. Meanwhile, we don't stop and look at what works for us a lot of the time. And positive psychology is the study of what works for humans and doing more of that. So the idea is to, before you go skipping off into 2024, take some time and look at what worked for you in 2023 and what you might want to bring with you.
It's an interesting point of view because I think that we have a tendency, and Amy has defined this for us at times on the podcast, to only look for what didn't work, what needs fixing. And it's an interesting mind shift to look at what did work. What's the difference between those two things for you?
Well, actually, when we look at what didn't work, it's important to look at what strengths we use to get through it, because what works for us in the past often holds the key to what will work for us in the future. So it's not so much a difference of what worked versus what didn't work. It's less looking at the outcomes and more looking at the process. Does that make sense?
It does.
And then the strengths. So we're actually looking back at the not necessarily the tough times, but the important times and what we brought to those times. And then we're going to pat ourselves on the back for that and make sure we're doing more of that in 2024?
I think it's more if you look at your calendar and you look at everything you did, all the things you showed up for, all the ways people showed up for you, everything you got through, everything that delighted you, all of it. It's looking at all of it and looking at how you got through it and what you learned. And sometimes what we decide as bad and good in the moment doesn't even give ourselves a chance to see what's really going on. So if you look back to some of the most important times of your life, the game-changing times in your life when you learn the most, they often comes from the hardest time in our lives, from the challenges that you would never want to repeat, that nobody would ever ask for, and yet there are often opportunities or gifts or huge lessons that live there. So it's just taking a different view and a closer view and just taking time to really see what we did. Because to your point, Margaret, our brains are wired to trap negativity. It's evolution. It's, so that we can make sure that thing, shaking that tree isn't a tiger. But if you're always looking around at what's shaking the tree, you're only using this tiny reactive portion of your brain that's really judgmental and really self-sabotaging as we get into adulthood.
So Ann gave us this homework, which also you gave to your clients, was to actually take out your calendar in 2023 and review it, that it's actually a source of information. To go back through 2023 and look for two things. Look for the gifts we gave and the gifts we received in maybe difficult times or at least in unexpected places, right? So I'm going to go first because I'm proud of this one. So as I looked back at 2023, I had several times during the year what I would characterize as difficult conversations. They weren't heated. They were extremely productive. They were not without conflict, right? It's like, let's sit here and hold together this thing that is kind of hard and we're not going to get up. We're really just going to sit with it. Nobody's going to blow up and we're just going to talk about it. I can think of a couple different times with a couple different people that I had difficult conversations and we remained calm and we got somewhere. And I thought I would say I'm a pretty conflict avoidant person and I would still sort of characterize myself that way. But I think I showed real growth in that in 2023. And so then knowing that, I say I actually am good at that for 2024.
Yeah. So challenging, if you've had this dominant narrative that I avoid conflict and I'm afraid of conflict, that's a challenge to it. So if we were coaching and somebody said I hate conflict, I'm terrible, I avoid it, I'd say, tell me about a time when you didn't and it went well. And then you would share that story with me and it would begin to reframe what works for you. And so I'm wondering, did that surprise you when you went through your calendar? Would you have thought of that?
I have definitely never thought of it as what did I do well in 2023 that I'd like to do more of in 2024? And I'm not sure I want to have more difficult conversations in 2024, but I do want to have more calm, respectful, productive conversations in 2024, right? And sort of show up as who you want to be.
Yeah. And times where you stood in your truth, showed up for what's important. There's these nuances of how we describe a situation too, where, like you said, it wasn't even really a conflict. It might have been a challenging conversation. And maybe that means it was even more worth having.
It's just such a more productive way to think of how you want to grow in the coming year than I'm going to, do 100 sit-ups every morning or something. It's just much more warm and fuzzy for me.
Yeah. And that hard doesn't mean bad, or it doesn't necessarily mean good. It just might mean I'm really having to channel up some strengths that I don't usually use. And
I went through my calendar with the idea in mind. I hope I did the homework assignment right. I'm kind of notorious for not doing the homework assignment correctly.
She doesn't love homework as a rule.
I opt out for my kids as well. Looking at the construct of gifts you gave, looking at this list of questions that you sent us, kind of trying to find them. And one of them that stood out to me was when you prayed or kept someone in your thoughts. And this is something that I feel like I've learned through the podcast. We talk a lot about how to help other people and how to be involved in our friendships. And one of the things that I've been working on that I completely stole from a friend of mine who always says when people are struggling, and whether it's on social media or off, like, I'm sending you strong, clear energy. This person is non-religious. And I was like, oh, it's such a nice way to express something that, like, I'm really going to hold this. And I've tried to make a habit this year, and I could think of a couple of occasions when people in passing say, I'm worried about my kid, they're struggling. I try to make a practice of saying to that person, what is that person's name? And I write it. I have a place where I write all those names down. And so even in passing, I've had it in passing conversations and in serious, close conversations. And I keep that list with me, and I try to look at it once a day. And I'm somewhat religious, somewhat agnostic, but I try to just keep that idea of, like, sending clear, positive energy towards that list of people. And it makes me feel more engaged in conversations and problems when I can say, oh, I'm having a hard time. My mom's sick. Oh, what's your mom's name? I'm going to put her on this list and be thinking about her. And I don't think it's super awkward. I've never had anyone react badly to it, but it just gives a little bit more intention to, like, oh, I'm sorry that's happening to you. It feels a little bit like I'm going to keep that person in my intentions, and it makes me feel more connected to people.
That's so beautiful. And you're giving them, I want to say the word blessing, but that sounds super religious too. But when somebody is hurting, especially if they're grieving, getting to say the name of the person, especially if they've lost that person, if you ask somebody who's grieving, anytime they hear the person's name, it means so much to them. That is so beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And similarly, another one of the questions was when you celebrated someone else's joy or windfall. And I was like, that's such a good intention, that, like, leaning in on when you hear good news for people. Like, I had a friend this week who had great news, and, somebody who's struggled with, career stuff for a while. And it is thrilling to be able to have that moment with someone of, like, yes, let's just celebrate this greatness. And sometimes we kind of let it go of, like, oh, that's great. But taking time out to really, like, repeat back, as old actors here, we know the Meisner technique, right? You repeat back to exercise. When you get a phrase, you repeat it back to each other. But just really saying out loud to people, like, hey, this thing seems really hard that you're going through. Hey, this win is so great. And what a great thing to see good things happen as somebody I love. And giving voice to, like, people's pain and wins seems to me a really good practice that I'm glad to really dig in on this year.
You just outlined, like, one of Martin Seligman, the father of positive psychology's advice. Incredible. This is neuroscience, what you're talking about, that if your partner or your kids have a piece of good news, so it is hard for us to take in the good things of life. It goes back to that default to that left brain reactivity, judgment. So when something is going well, the way we can make a different neural pathway, the way we can build the more creative, positive side of our brain is savoring. So if something good happens to your partner or your kid, ask them more questions about it. Where were you when you got that news? Do you remember exactly what they said? Why do you think they chose you? What was it about your work that they liked? Like, the longer you can do it, the more it helps cement that good news, celebrate that good news. This stuff just lights me up. I think you can see that.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like we talked a long time ago on an early podcast about it was like a training animals, training husbands kind of article that was very popular years ago. But it was like,
oh, what Shamu taught me about my marriage, I think it was called.
Right. And, like, it helps you look for the positives when you're doing that too, that you're looking for, we all deal with a lot of people who kind of drive us crazy and we don't like, and it helps you seek out connection even with people who drive you batty.
Yes, you keep, like, saying the talking points without even knowing it. I mean, there's something called Broaden and Build by an amazing writer, researcher named Barbara Fredricksons, where you can more easily build on positive neurons when you start noticing and articulating positive neurons. And one of the things that we can do, no matter what's going on in our life, is find positivity resonance, even with strangers. And it's even as important to your well-being as your primary relationships, that fun exchange you have with that person at the grocery store, that place where you meet eyes with the cutest little kid. These things actually matter for your brain. And it's true. The more that you can see them, the more that you will spot them.
We're talking to Ann Imig. She is a life coach at Listen Life Coaching. We're going to talk about the second part of this calendar exercise when we get back. Hellions, it's time for some spring cleaning, and I don't just mean the coat closets. Doing your financial spring cleaning can actually be super easy when you let Monarch do your financial spring cleaning for you. One dashboard that gets your entire financial life organized. No more clutter, no more mess, no more logins scattered everywhere, just accounts, investments, property, and more, all in one place. Get your first year of Monarch for half off, just $50 with promo code FRESH. Monarch allows you to look not only at what you've already spent, but also to plan for the future. With Monarch, you can set savings goals, plan for big purchases, and notice spending trends before they become a problem. I can generate cash flow reports that show me what we spent this quarter, this month, what we're probably going to spend next month, and feel prepared, organized, and knowing how to plan for the future. No more surprises and a lot more clarity. Try Monarch. Use code FRESH at monarch.com to get your first year half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code FRESH.
Amy, when I'm having a good hair day, it usually makes my whole day better. And that's why on every day, I'm taking Nutrafol.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand, and it's the #1 hair growth supplement brand personally used by dermatologists. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are peer-reviewed, NSF certified for sport, and clinically tested.
Nutrafol offers multiple formulas for men and women tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors, so you get support that's actually right for you. Adding Nutrafol to your daily routine is easy. Order online, no prescription needed, with automated deliveries and free shipping to keep you on track.
Let your hair be one less thing to worry about. See visibly thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you visit Nutrafol.com and enter promo code LAUGHING.
That's Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code LAUGHING.
At DSW, we ask the important questions, like, what shoes are you going to wear? Whether you're prepping for wedding season, festival season, or just planning the ultimate vacay, the right shoes can make or break an RSVP. So own the moment. You've got big plans, and we've got just the shoes. At the perfect price, of course. Get ready to get ready with Designer Shoe Warehouse. Head to your DSW store or dsw.com today and let us surprise you.
Okay, so there's another part of this exercise that we did when we reviewed our calendars for 2023 we mined them for ideas and gold nuggets we're going to take with us into 2024. We were talking about before the gifts that we gave during the year, and then we were also supposed to talk about the gifts we received during the previous year. So, Ann, tell me, why is that important to think about what you're going to do more of in 2024, to think about what you received instead of what you gave?
Mostly because we default to forgetting good things.
Okay.
And we need to train our brain. I mean, when I do this too, I love this exercise, and it's a process of reflection for me that I can't believe what I've forgotten. And so just to remind ourselves of, and by gifts, I don't always mean literal, right? Like it can be the way people showed up for you, things that you learned, new experiences you have, a way somebody surprised or delighted you. And life is in the details, and we forget so many of them.
Okay, so Ann, give us a long list of gifts that we received potentially that we should explore. And this is so simple, but it's true for me. When I made a friend, this is a small gift that became a big gift when I really stopped and thought about it. Right? I have a friend that I walked the reservoir in Central Park, which is maybe a couple miles walk. She's a mom, lives in my neighborhood. We have kids who went to school together. They don't go to school together anymore, but we still bump into each other once in a while. And we made a date to walk around the reservoir. We made a nice talk, whatever. And then like 2 weeks later, she texted me like, do you want to pick another day to walk around the reservoir? And we did again. We had a nice talk. And another week or two goes by. She's like, are you up for another walk one of these days? And I'm like, she wants to be my friend. I mean, it was such a slow learner. I think she's my friend now. You know, and it just took me a long time to get to it. Like she's offering me, she's making a bid for connection. And I have a new friend. And it seemed like a really big gift once I started looking at those walks in the calendar, thinking 100% her pursuing me to set those up.
And just the gift of clicking with someone. I mean, we meet all sorts of people who are interesting, maybe we admire, but like when you click with somebody, that's such an amazing feeling.
Yeah. And hard to come by when your kids get older too. I feel like there's a lot of people you can talk to when your kids are in the same Cub Scout troop, right? But once they're grown and this, and like, who are you when you're not Bobby's mom? Sometimes you don't have as much to talk about.
Yeah. As our kids get older, there are certain points in our life where the connection's built in, when you first have babies, when your kids first start school. And then as they grow up and leave the house, it's this new transition time where you can feel a little adrift. And so those connections mean even more.
Yeah. And I just want to double click on for our audience, the questions that we received to review were two categories: gifts we gave and gifts we received. And there were maybe 24 questions in each category to search for. And we will link to them so that you can do this exercise for yourself, because it is really worthwhile. And the gifts you received, I'm lucky to say I had so many of them highlighted because they're just fun. Like when you got the hang of it, when you saw something awe-inspiring, there were so many I could think of that resonated with me during the year. But I decided to highlight one that's a little bit more unusual. When you hired someone who did great work, and Amy and I are building a company, Atlas Media, podcasting company. I'm a comedian by training, and Amy is an actress by training. I think we both went into this a little bit like, we're not business women. Business women carry briefcases and go to business offices, and we're just here in our houses. And we kind of took this leap of faith together, and in the last year have hired several people, and it's been an interesting new identity to be someone's boss, which this is the first time in my life that I have had that experience, other than like small jobs, someone fixing my car, whatever it happens to be, someone who we're working with day in and day out. And I will say it has been an overwhelmingly positive experience. And it really is. We have several young, mostly female people who work for us, and watching smart young women do good work, it just like you said, it lights me up. I'm like, look at these young women. They're so smart. They're so much more together than I was. They speak for what they want. They're not afraid to share their ideas. I mean, I feel like Amy and I were my mother worked professionally, but she was considered very odd for having a job. And I think we came up in the generation of being a little bit like, yeah, okay, sir, whatever you want, like just our only goal at work was to be pleasing to other people. And I have found it really inspiring to watch these like incredibly smart young women in the workplace from this other vantage point, who are so able to speak their minds and share their creativity and their really, really smart ideas. And it's just been super inspiring.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's ever been a generation of young people who are so informed, outspoken. I mean, that's a big generalization, but I was in a context recently where somebody said, like, just off the cuff, oh, like a 19-year-old, what do they know? And I'm thinking 19-year-olds know so much more than we did at 19. And some of it's for the better and some of it is for the worse, because we're all so plugged in and there's so much misinformation. But my goodness, they are very engaged and aware, and it's amazing.
Yeah. And that seeing their self-confidence and ability, and then finding ourselves in these new roles for ourselves. It's like it's been a connected system, finding that we've had to find our voices to a certain degree to be like, we belong in these rooms and we belong making these decisions. And it's been a really inspiring year in that way.
Yeah. I had on my own list, something else was on there, a gift you received when someone took something off your plate, which is kind of another version of the same thing. You feel like, well, I'll speak for myself. I can feel like there's too much on my plate, but I can't pause to give any of it away, because to like sit down with somebody and be like, here's how you knit a sweater. It's going to take a really long time. Let me just knit the sweater. But turns out when you teach people how to knit sweaters, sometimes they're better at knitting sweaters than you are, or faster, or they make better looking sweater, whatever. It frees you doing this work of building a support system around us, which was more work for 6 weeks, has led to, the rest of the year being not easier, but just what do I want to be doing with my time? What is the best use of my time? And it doesn't have to be answering every email. It was a real opportunity for growth.
And in the future, when you are looking at doing something that feels really challenging and way outside of your comfort zone, you can look back to this time and be like, we built a damn empire. I mean, I am in awe of what you are doing. And that's the value of taking some time to remember and document what you are doing that is working. I do a goal map with clients, which is a physical, visual map. It looks different for everyone. But when you achieve that goal of a year or 2 years, you hold on to it for the savoring reasons. And for the next time you're inevitably stuck, you look back at that map and you're like, oh, right. Those are the people who helped. That's what I did. That's what worked.
So it's doing this work. It just helps you remember so that when you are faced with something more difficult in 2024 or whenever, you feel more capable and ready. Is that what this work is about?
It's not just remembering, it's connecting it to your strengths and knowing. And so anybody who wants to find out what their strengths are can go to viacharacter.org. I have no relationship with this assessment, and it's not like supposed to be a typing system that freaks anybody out. It's actually developed by Martin Seligman, who I already mentioned, and the big DSM diagnostician's manual for everything that does not work for people and every sort of mental illness. He and his colleagues created that as well. And then in the early 2000s, it's like, we've been studying what does not work in humans for all of these decades. What does work for humans? And you can go and you can take this character strengths assessment to figure out what works for you. And when I first took it, it was a big aha for me because there were some surprises there. My talents aren't always the same as my strengths. And that is to say that your strengths hold tremendous power, for lack of a better word, for your well-being. So when you can use those top signature strengths, that is when you are feeling stuck or you are feeling unhappy and you can find ways to plug into those strengths. Those are the key to ease and flow and more positivity in your life. And that's an essential piece of this work that I do with every client.
Well, we took this assessment for ourselves
Yes,
another part of our homework. We had a lot of homework for this episode. I usually do not allow this much homework.
I hope it was fun and interesting.
It was so much fun. It was very interesting.
And I said, you don't have to do it. You'll just get a lot more out of it if you do.
No. It was really interesting. And it's also interesting because Amy and I, people often describe the podcast as like two best friends talk about parenting. That's how they describe the podcast. And we often point out that Amy and I did not know each other that well when we started the podcast. And it's been really interesting to me how well our different strengths complement each other. It's totally like kismet luck that it was such a happy accident that like, if you could have built a person who had opposite strengths than me, you would have maybe built Amy, I mean, it's just so interesting. And let me tell you,
oh my gosh,
our results prove this out. We have different strengths.
And everyone has all 24 strengths. All of us have them all. It's just the ones that are lower on a profile. Everybody immediately, because of, again, how we're wired, they go right to the bottom strengths and they go, I thought it was a good leader. This says that I'm terrible at leadership. It's like, you know what? That actually says you might be a terrific leader. And that is why you feel so exhausted at the end of every day when you come home.
Oh, okay.
Because you have to pull so much harder on your strengths to be able to bring up that leadership. But go on. I want to hear what surprised you because Amy, you are laughing, you are smiling.
Well, I have to say, first of all, that I've taken a lot of quizzes from What Muppet Are You? What Real Housewife Are You? I've taken them all. But this one, sometimes you get it and you're like, I'm not really that Muppet. This is, I really read it and I was like, they got me. They nailed me. I got it. I am totally this Muppet.
You're totally that Muppet.
Do you mind telling us what your top strength is?
My top strength is humor, Amy.
Oh, see, that's amazing. Okay, Margaret, I considered myself at one time a humor writer. This was a big part of my identity. Okay. Humor was very far down on my strengths. And you have to read the definition, because once I read the definition that talked about like lightheartedness and levity with life, I was like, oh, right. I am so earnest.
This is humor. It is liking to laugh and tease, bringing smiles to other people, seeing the light side, making, not necessarily telling, jokes. That's my number one strength. And I got to say, guilty as charged.
Right.
It's so good for positivity and optimism to have a lighthearted, joyful, laughing super strength. So the top 5 are supposed to be your signature strengths. And this is a free assessment. So they can also be like stacked up. Your top 10 could all be like around the same weight.
Right. You don't know how they're weighted. Right. All right, Amy, hit us with your number 1.
My top strength, this will surprise no one. If anybody who's listened to like 2 episodes of this podcast, if Margaret's top strength is humor, Amy's top strength is love of learning.
I mean, it's like they listened to the podcast and wrote this down.
Yeah.
And it's a seemingly simple tool that's developed by neuroscientists and is so, Amy, you guys are lucky. Love of learning, curiosity is literally the key to well-being and happiness in life. I'm not kidding. That's a great strength to have as number 1. And also it's why you two are, Margaret, you keep Amy laughing. Amy, your love of learning keeps this thing going forward. Like I see it. I get it.
Yeah. And I'm very prudent. That's another one of my strengths. And I think I can be overly cautious.
I share that one.
I don't know what I would call, I would suspect that another strength of Margaret's that's high up.
Prudence, by the way, is second to last for me.
And it's 4th out of 25 for me.
It's 23rd.
I love it.
There is so much to explore in this strengths questionnaire. So let's take a break. When we come back, we're talking to Ann Imig of Listen Life Coaching, and we'll be right back. My favorite skincare products actually feel more like self-care, like they're so nice to put on and they smell so good that I'm actually happy when I get to that part of my day. And I swear that is how I feel about Osea's anti-aging body balm.
Amy, you are usually the lotions and potions queen on this podcast, but I have to say, hard agree.
Osea's anti-aging body balm is a liquid silk body balm that combines the lasting hydration of a lotion with the firming power of a serum, leaving skin smoother and firmer.
This body balm is clinically tested and designed to deliver visible results you can see and feel.
So we've gotten to use this product for a couple of months now, and I swear I have really noticed firmer and smoother skin, like on the back of my hands. It's like getting a mini spa treatment from head to toe.
Get a spring-worthy glow with clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now, we have a special discount just for our listeners.
Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code FRESH at OseaMalibu.com.
That's 10% off your first order with code FRESH at OSEAMalibu.com.
All my kids learned to swim when they were little. It was super important to me that they be confident and safe in the water. There was only one problem with that: taking them to swim lessons. I mean, the pools were freezing. There were always cranky adults doing laps right there. And it was definitely not, for any of us, what you would call fun.
Amy, heard. But now there's Goldfish Swim School. Goldfish takes a really thoughtful approach to swim lessons, combining research-based teaching with a warm, kid-friendly environment that actually helps kids thrive in the water.
Every detail at Goldfish is thoughtfully designed to create a golden experience, from shiver-free, warm indoor pools to comfy waiting areas for parents to professionally trained lifeguards on deck.
Goldfish uses an approach called the science of swim play, which combines guided play with proven teaching techniques to help kids learn to swim, build water safety skills, and gain confidence, all at their own pace. Lessons are designed to meet kids exactly where they're at.
If you've been thinking about swim lessons or just wondering where to start, this is a great opportunity. Right now, Goldfish Swim School is offering a waived membership plus your child's first lesson free at participating locations.
Just visit goldfishswimschool.com/free to find a location near you and enroll using promo code FREE.
That's goldfishswimschool.com/free, promo code FREE. So I wanted to talk about one of my lesser strengths because I thought this was, I read it and I'm like, true, but it has me low on zest.
I think you're very zesty.
Zest. Approaching life with excitement and energy, not doing things halfway or half-heartedly. I mean, I don't do things halfway. Living life is an adventure feeling alive and activated. I mean, I don't do things halfway, but on the other hand, I am not the person who shows up with a mug of coffee like, good morning, everybody. Like, that's not really me.
Thank God.
But I want it to be.
Amy, our strengths are so similar, and I'm not surprised. And the good news is you can raise these. You can focus on channeling zest if that's important to you. And the more you're engaging in things that broaden and build your positivity, the more your zest might be raised as well. And I think one of the reasons that clients trust me as a positive psychology coach is this exact thing. Like, I do not wake up every morning like, sunshine, bluebirds. Like, I am not, it's my baseline mood is lower, and that's why I need this work, and it's changed my life.
My last ranked strength is self-regulation / temperance. Regulating what one feels and does, being disciplined, controlling one's appetites and emotions. Again, they got me dead to rights. It's not my strength.
I mean, I wouldn't say you're terrible at those things. It's just a lesser strength. That's all we're saying.
It's a lesser strength.
Again, we all have 24 strengths. We all have them all. And in seriousness, I had a client say to me, I think resilience was near the bottom. And she's like, my therapist said to me, you've been through so much. You've survived so much. Like, how could this possibly be right? And I'm like, right. You've survived so much. And wow, look at how much you've had to pull up on the strength to keep going. And that must be exhausting. And she was like, yes, right? Like, bingo.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting.
One of the overlaps that we had is curiosity. It was number 2 for me and number 3 for Amy. Curiosity, taking an interest in ongoing experience for its own sake, finding subjects and topics fascinating, exploring and discovering.
This makes total sense.
Makes sense.
Like, why you're great interviewers and why you've been able to launch and expand this business. That makes total sense to me. What a great signature strength for you two to share. This is incredible.
Oh, interesting.
And perspective is also a shared top strength. Perspective is being able to provide wise counsel to others, having ways of looking at the world that makes sense to oneself and others. That's kind of our job.
Yes. Since this is a parenting podcast, this is a super secret, helpful tip for your college-age kids who have to write essays. You know, I bug my kids to do all this stuff, and they, of course, want no piece of it because I'm doing it. But when you have to, so my older son, one of his top strengths is humility. So you can imagine how hard the college application process was for him. He's a sophomore in college now. But I was like, okay, then let's just take this 15-minute strength assessment, and it gives you the words to describe yourself, and they're really good words.
That's smart.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I gotta say, humility, third from the bottom for me.
Same.
Hope is a little lower than I'd like it to be.
Where is hope for you?
It's 17 out of 24. I don't think of myself as lacking in hope.
Amy, we have really similar strengths profiles.
Oh, guess what mine is? Hope. 17. We're low hopers.
We're just so-so.
Expecting the best in the future and working to achieve it, believing that a good future is something that can be brought about. Yeah, I mean, no.
Kind of.
Not really.
Look at the current reality we're living in, people.
Yeah, I mean, we're realists. We're realists, which also make things happy. All right, Amy, I want to hear your top 5.
Oh, my top 5. Okay. My top 5 were love of learning, perspective, which we just discussed, curiosity.
That was low for me, but that's true. You have a much better sense of perspective than me.
Curiosity, prudence, being careful about one's choices, not taking undue risks, not saying or doing things that might later be regretted. There's the conflict avoidant part. I think I am
That's
prudent.
Second to last for me, prudence, which is good. But we always say that because we have an expression that I'm the idea canon and Amy is the person who's like, let's see if that will work. And if you have 2 non-prudent idea canon people, no good. And if you have 2 people who are like, let's be prudent, we match very well in that way. I feel like that's a good balance for us.
I think so. The reason there is a what fresh hell is because you are like, I have an idea, right? You are that person. And then I'm like, well, that would mean we have to buy a microphone and we have to let them, I bring that.
But you have to have
You have to have both.
Yeah. I mean, prudence can sometimes feel like killjoy, but you're like a yes and person, not like it'll never work. Like you're like, let's figure out how to make it work.
My final top strength is spirituality, having coherent beliefs about the higher purpose and meaning of the universe, having beliefs about the meaning of life that shape conduct and provide comfort. I think so. I think that's me.
That was very low for me, I think.
That's interesting because you have that beautiful practice, that spiritual practice you talked about in part 1 about the keeping people's names and looking at the names of people that you want to hold in prayer or in mind.
It's just, I'm not sure if it works. I'm becoming a radical secularist, basically. Like, okay, we'll just try to get along with people, but knowing how it all fits together, no idea.
What are your top 5?
Well, yeah, it's the practice. And also like with your practice in particular, I think it's really meaningful. It's that positivity resonance. I think it's a way you care for people that probably matters to them.
Yeah. And I just don't feel comfortable being like, because then this is what's really going on in the universe, but I'm going to keep trying anyway, even though I have no idea.
Hit us with your top 5.
Number 1 is humor. Number 2 is curiosity, which we share. Number 3 is creativity, thinking of novel and productive ways to conceptualize and do things. 4 is perspective, which we talked about. And 5 is social intelligence, being aware of motives, feelings of others and oneself, knowing what to do to fit into different social situations, and knowing what makes other people tick.
That is so true. Margaret can talk to anybody, and you also very deeply see Margaret deeply sees each person's humanity when she encounters them in a way that's really kind of fun for me to watch and learn from. And I think you just see people and you get people and you're just disarming or something. And you just get people not to unburden themselves necessarily, just to relax and be themselves in your presence. Again,
great interviewer traits. Curiosity, both of you, right? Love of learning, genuine interest in people, and intuition and sensibilities about how people operate.
So knowing all this stuff, going back to where we started, deciding what we're going to take forward into the new year, how does knowing your strengths and your more developing strengths, let's say, how these rank, how does that help you create more of what you want in the coming year?
Well, keeping them handy and referring to them often is what I recommend when you're feeling stuck, you're out of sorts. Using your signature strengths is the way through. I used to feel like this was magic and I didn't know something would resonate and I'd feel unlocked. And, when you're stuck and people would be like, just let go. You're like, I'm trying, And once in a while I would hear something or I'd watch something and I felt like this works for a while. And then I thought it was just this magic thing that would descend. And now I know it's not magic. Literally, it's these strengths that we have. And that when we're stuck or we're not feeling good, that this is the way through, the way to find ease and flow. And so keeping them handy and, whatever surprised you or delighted you or resonated with you from the calendar, again, put it in the front of your new calendar and refer to it often.
These questions are so useful. This exercise, I feel like both, maybe even more so in looking at the lower strengths that you think like, oh yeah, these are things that maybe I should recognize in situations. And what I like is we talk to a lot of people who have a lot of book titles, and often I like when we talk to people and it's like a new construct of seeing the problem, like starting from the place of what you're looking for that's positive versus defining things as this is the ways that I'm bad and no good. And that this really, and we talk about ourselves, and certainly I talk about myself in that way of like, I'm so disorganized, I can't make anything happen, and blah, blah, blah. And realizing like these are strengths and they are in a ranking, and that certain things serve you about your operating system and certain things don't serve you as well, and that you can concentrate on different strengths and work on them. It feels like a really positive and achievable set of goals, as opposed to like, this year I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week so that I can feel bad about myself the second week of January when I already haven't done that.
Right. Well, and it's really frees you of a lot of the stories we tell ourselves. Like you were talking about those hard conversations earlier in our conversation, Amy, or when you feel like you're in a conflict, it's so easy to be like, I suck. Oh God, I'm this way. She's that way. He's that way. And if you look at it in terms of strengths, it can all of a sudden just be so illuminating. Like, oh, right. Teamwork is low on my profile and she's really good at that. And no wonder this feels awkward. And then it just takes it all out of that judgy side of ourselves. And we can be reflective and we can think of like, how could I approach this in a way that would feel a little easier for me without all this baggage I'm attaching to it that's not even true half the time, more than half the time.
And if you want to boost your happiness, if I'm understanding this correctly, so I love of learning and curiosity, those are strengths for me. So if I'm feeling a little like, like I'm missing something in my life, a good place to start would be find a way to feed my curiosity and love of learning.
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's a very easy way to sort of bring more of what you want into 2024.
Yeah. And just to kind of bring it back to listen to your mother, since that's how we all met. It's like having those nerves when you're thinking about how you're going to perform your story or perform your work and shifting it to how you're serving other people who are going to listen to it. So it reminds me of that kind of pivot where it's so much less about your ego and so much more about how can I use what I do well to serve myself and others.
It's been great. Well, we're talking to Ann Imig. She is a life coach at listenlifecoaching.com. And tell us about your workshops and the way people can start working with you.
Oh, you can find me at listenlifecoaching.com and you can learn a lot about me that way. And there's an easy way to connect with me there through everyone gets a free 30-minute consultation, no strings attached. So if this is at all interesting to you, I'd love to hear from you and Zoom with you.
This was a really fun conversation and so useful. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, we'll put the link to the questionnaire, the character strengths questionnaire, the exercises for looking back at 2023 and bringing what you want into 2024. And of course, Listen Life Coaching. We'll put all of that in the show notes for this episode.
And Ann, you also have a podcast.
I do. And actually, this question I was going to ask you, but I know it's hard for people on the spot, but is there something fun? Can you add fun into your life? And if you don't know where to find fun, allow yourself to be bad at something. And then it can be fun. So another part of our shared world, we all met through the blogging years. And two of my earliest blogging friends and funniest friends, Mariana Olenko and Wendy Aarons, we decided to do a podcast because, obviously we're ahead of the curve with podcasting. It's this brand new technology and
hot new thing.
Yeah, hot new thing. We're going to make our mark. But Mariana listened to a lot. She listened to a couple of celebrity memoir podcasts that she liked listening to, but the hosts were a little different generation. And she decided it would be fun to have a couple friends and asked me to do it. And I really did not want to learn how to do a podcast. But I wanted to collaborate with these friends even more than I didn't want to learn. Love of learning is not high for me. I wish it was. And so we, this summer, started recording in October. We launched, it's pronounced Memoir. It's all about celebrity memoirs. And it's just fun. And we laugh. And it's all about the process and not about the outcome. So if that is my wish for you too this year, like what can you bring into your life that's just delightful, that you can be bad at, that's all about the process and not about the outcome?
We will link to that podcast as well in the show notes. It's super fun. And we've had Wendy Aarons on the show, so you've heard her already.
That's right.
And this was so much fun. Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was an honor and such a treat.
Thanks, Ann.